Hello, I'm Keith with the Trombone Shop at Schmidt Music, back with another instrument review for you. And today we have an instrument and a maker who has become an absolute staple in our shop, specifically Eastman and the Eastman ETB828 large bore tenor trombone. We've talked in the past about a number of different, Eastman designs, their collaboration with SE Shires and other makers, but I really haven't had a chance to dig into what has become kind of a staple model in the shop here. Something that has proven really, really, popular, accessible for players kind of across a wide spectrum of experience. And so I wanted to make sure to talk about what this instrument is bringing to the table, what that experience is like. So, as always, I'm going to take a play on it, talk about it afterwards. I'm going to be playing everything today on my trusty Bach 5G mouthpiece. Over the last 10 to 15 years, Eastman Music Company and Eastman Brass, in our particular case, have become such I would argue, a mainstay in the brass world. And we've talked in the past about why a lot of that is, here, their longtime collaboration with SE Shires. Just to provide a very, very brief overview, Eastman is a company that really came onto the market in the early 2000s, and very early on, they went to Steve Shires and said, teach us how to build these instruments. And they had this long-term collaboration where they were not only utilizing designs from SE Shires and the SE Shires team, but they had been having this collaborative training with the Shires craftspeople, with the Eastman craftspeople, which of course exists to this day here. In 2014, Eastman acquired SE Shires and said, we'll take care of the business front and you folks build. And of course, we've seen the result of that collaboration, whether it's kind of the absolute proliferation, I almost call a rocket-like trajectory of SE Shires and Eastman. And again, their presence in our community. And so, as a result of this, we have these collaborative instruments, designs that came from SE Shires, that not only the designs, but using, again, the building techniques that Shires has perfected over the years, and working with the Eastman crafts folks to really bring those, the designs and techniques to the table. The 828, ETB828, is a really great example of this here. So, little bit of background here. The 828, again, this is really, again, a very, very SE Shires-inspired design. So it has, in this case, the 828 has an 8.5-inch yellow brass bell, soldered rim here, has yellow brass reverse tuning slide here, has a wide hand slide, and we'll talk about that experience and especially what that brings to the table and compared to other intermediate level instruments. So we have a wide hand slide, yellow brass outer tubes, nickel silver crook, 3 interchangeable lead pipes. So of course, one of those features that we see in more custom level or custom inspired designs here. And then of course, in this case, we have an open wrap, a Minix style open wrap with a standard rotor. They of course offer this with an axial flow as well in the 829 series here. So what I found in the community, so first off, this is what I consider an intermediate level instrument. And this is maybe a topic for a whole nother video here, but when I'm thinking about instruments in instrument designs and really kind of like how we classify them, I kind of have 4 major classifications. We have student, intermediate, professional, and custom. And first, and really what differentiates those is, who's doing the designing and the building, how much time are they spending with that, what's the skill level behind all of that, and who is it designed for? What is it designed to do? Now, and frankly, of all of these different features, and of course there are different prices involved with that as well, different price levels. One of the things that I think sometimes gets not ignored, but maybe doesn't get talked about as much is, at least in my opinion, how these different levels really are designed to suit different levels of players, right? And really kind of designed to help us at different points in our playing career. So for us, a lot of folks, when we have a lot of players and, of course, a lot of middle school, high school players who are looking to move into their first large bore tenor trombone. But frankly, it doesn't have to be that. I've worked with folks across a wide spectrum of playing experience where these instruments have still been the right fit. And in particular, the 828, 829 series from Eastman has really become a mainstay for us in that category. Now, why is that? Well, as I mentioned, this is, again, this SE Shires design. One of the things I think this brings to the table is an airflow concept that I think is really matching with the needs of a lot of players from frankly, fairly, across a wide spectrum, again, of playing experiences. So what I mean by that is when I'm thinking about airflow, I think about it on kind of the spectrum. We have one end, which is, it's a more efficient airflow. Some people might feel it's smaller. It feels like a tighter amount of airflow that we need. Others might feel that it's more efficient. It's just easier to respond. On the other end, we have this big, open, broad airflow, right? It works well for somebody who's got a really big, large, broad air concept. They can really fill up the instrument. But if somebody doesn't have that concept, it might feel airy, it might feel dead. They may have trouble getting things to initiate. The upper register, lower register may struggle, etc. So in this spectrum, for me, SE Shires is definitely on the more open end, but not all the way. And there are ways we can adjust some of that, but we're getting towards this, but not quite as open. And what I'm finding is more and more for a lot of players, again, even players with 2, 3, 4 years of experience, this kind of air concept really seems to be resonating with a lot of folks. So what I find with this, with the 828, is that is an instrument that feels extremely well balanced, right? It is something for me as a player, when I go to play, it feels immediately comfortable. And it feels like at least for me, I don't have to change my air concept at all. And in fact, I feel like the instrument is putting to very, very good use the energy that I'm putting into the instrument. With this design, whenever I play these instruments, what I find is that they have a core to the sound, they have some depth to the sound, and of course we can tweak that. In this case, we have the yellow brass bell, but of course they have the 828G, which has a gold brass bell, which further allows us to tweak kind of the particulars of the sound response experience that an individual may be looking for. But in general, what I find with these is that it's got this, again, this openness to the sound. I feel like I can really play through it, and I tried to demonstrate that in some of the Rimsky-Korsakov. As a side note, because I know there's always some, we'll call it discussion about Rimsky-Korsakov. This particular reason I played excerpts of the Rimsky-Korsakov is, again, because that is such a staple piece for so many of us And when we started playing that, for a lot of us, that was my first solo that I worked on. I thought it'd be just a good comparison with that. But in any case, when I was playing through the Rimsky-Korsakov, I was really trying to showcase certain spots where I was really leaning into the instrument. It could take that air concept, right? And it really, and what I got out of it is, again, this beautiful openness to the sound without getting overly bright and brilliant and shrill. It was really, really kind of moderating the airflow. But at the softer dynamics, I still felt like I had the control and the delicacy with all of this. Now, again, a lot of this is about, it's a particular air concept, right? And there are certainly other players where this kind of design is going to be too big, too open, okay? Which is very fair. And as a side note, this is where something like, for example, the Eastman 428, that may come into where, again, it's designed with a little bit different experience, a little bit different air concept in mind as well. So there's certainly going to be people who this might be just too big, too open of a setup, or vice versa. It might still feel tight. It might still feel stuffy. Now, we can work with that. Of course, we have axial flow models. And then, of course, we've got the removable lead pipes. So, like the SE Shires designs, this does come with 3 different removable lead pipes, 3 different tapers, 1 being the smallest, most compact taper, 3 being the biggest, most open taper. And it is a way for us to further tweak the again, kind of like with the bell, the sound response experience, and really kind of hone in on what the exact right fit is for the individual here. Now, with this, again, this is the other side of this equation is, well, it's the craftsmanship, it's the work behind it. And again, in terms of quality and everything, the Eastman, top to bottom, we have been continually impressed with. There can be a difference. So from here, from the Eastman 828, for some folks, next step might be something like the Q series, like the TBQ30YR. So that's going to be the collaborative, SE Shires Eastman collaborative version of this instrument, right? Where you're getting more involvement from SE Shires. And then, of course, the next step from there is you're going to be looking at a Shires custom. And this is really based off of the classic, Shires custom design. If you said, just build me your most popular design, kind of the staple Shires design, that's what this is built off of, right? And so, of course, the Shires custom version is going to be the completely Boston hand-built version of that. So a lot of it's going to be about nuance in the sound. There may be a different kind of complexity. There may be a little bit different control and a little bit different delicacy to the initiation of sound, the stability, a lot of these different factors, right? At the end of the day, it is all about what the needs are of the individual. How does that fit all of us here? But again, the 828 series, the Eastman intermediate instruments have really kind of filled, that kind of next step, that next level niche that we have a lot of people looking for, and they filled that role in a really, really wonderful way. So I hope you enjoyed my conversation about the Eastman ETB828. If you have experience with this instrument, other Eastman designs, or some of the other SE Shires-inspired designs, etc., please feel free to leave them in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you haven't already done so think about subscribing to the channel, hitting that notification button so when you see we have more videos coming out. And of course, you can find the Trombone Shop on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. As always, thanks for watching.